Chapter 2, Friday, April 13, 2012. Judgment of God over the religious totalitarian coalition ROK S.ZH and over the leaders of ROK S.ZH, ULEM-GURU ADAM-MAG, SLEP, SPAL, The apostate religious social organization Word of Life is not a church, but a sect, and even worse. It is a net of devil and Satan, assembly of Satan. It is a coalition with the judgment name ROK S.ZH, religious social coalition Word of Life, corrupt, anathemized, insidious, the leaders' union of which carries its judgment name ULEM-GURU ADAM-MAG, SLEP, SPAL, The interpretation of the abbreviations. First, ROK S.ZH. Second, ULEM-GURU ADAM-MAG, SLEP, SPAL, Part 1. Interpretation of the abbreviation ROK S.ZH, religious social coalition Word of Life, corrupt, anathemized, insidious. First, the religious social organization Word of Life is called religious due to the fact that the organization Word of Life performs pseudo-Christian religious activity with the greatest violations of the foundations of Christianity. Besides, ROK S.ZH studies satanic depths, secrets of the other world religions, and the method of zombation of people in order to subdue them to the leaders of the sect, who are zombators, manipulators, and dictators of great masses of people. The greatest criminality of ROK S.ZH is that all its leaders, ULEM-GURU ADAM-MAG, SLEP, SPAL, imitate Christian way of life, and under the name of the Holy Trinity, they secretly worship false gods and false goddesses of different world religions. Thus, covering up with deception, they lie against the truth and mislead huge masses of people, inevitably leading to their destruction. Second, the religious social organization Word of Life is called social due to the fact that this religious coalition, first, widely spreads its activity in society. It is remarkable that the religious social organization Word of Life has its own high school, where students do not receive complete education and often miss classes for the reason that both teachers and parents are the followers of the sect Word of Life and have close relationship with each other. High school address is the city of Yerevan, Tbilisi Highway 35-3. Leaders of ROK S.ZH implant in minds of children their false teachings and bring them up in completely different spirit. That's why it's not surprising that almost all children wish to become singers, artists, sportsmen, and some even wish to become actresses like Angela Sarkisyan, who became famous in Armenia as a woman of easy virtue.
Եկեք հարցնենք երեխաներից եւ տեսնենք ինչ են ուզում իրենք դառնալ։
Երգչուհի։
Դու։
Ռեժիսոր։ Ես եմ ռեժիսոր։ Երգչուհի։
Երգչուհի։
Ֆուտբոլիստ։
Ռոմեո, ինչու ես Ռոմեո։ Ուրացիր հորդ։ Ժխտիր անունդ։ Եթե կամք չունես, ուզիր ինձ սիրել։ Եվ ես կդադարեմ կապուլետ լինել։
It is extremely surprising that the leader of the religious social organization Word of Life in Armenia, Arthur Simonyan, is also the head of the registry office, due to the fact that he issues marriage certificates with his own signature and the seal of the Word of Life sect, and registers the newlyweds in the registry of the sect. Said marriage certificates serve as a valid legal document in different state institutions and banks. The religious social organization Word of Life is called social due to the fact that this religious coalition draws huge social masses into their pseudo-Christian religious coalition by flattery, deception, seductions, temptations, and pseudo-evangelism. Third, intervenes into various fields of professional, cultural, political activity of a man by sponsoring and encouraging those people whose dreams and goals have nothing in common with Christianity. Attention! The leaders of ROK S.ZH shamelessly conclude contracts for sponsoring sportsmen, people from show business, artists, singers, dancers, for the purpose that in the future they would pay the sect back certain amount of money agreed upon in the contract, thus falling into constant dependency on ROK S.ZH. Therefore, this category of people live all allowed secular way of life, however, feels obliged to attend the sect word of life and pay back promised money.
Անժելչան, ինչ պատահեց, որ հասար քո երազանքի, որովհետև շատերը չեն հասնում իրենց երազանքի, իրանց երազանքը մահանում է իրանց հետ։
In addition, these people, without true repentance before Jesus, bring all kinds of unclean spirits into the sect, thus spreading the same sins which they are themselves bound with. Fourth, leaders and followers of ROK S.ZH, Word of Life, are involved in politics. They establish connection with politicians. They bribe politicians in order to get into the parliament and government. They are active at elections by selling their votes. They nominate their candidacy for parliament elections, and all that in order to introduce their offers and laws to legislation and constitution of this country. And why not? Their goal is to start Orange Revolution, as it happened in Ukraine. Back then, similar coalition under the name of Assembly of God supported Viktor Yushchenko to come to power. The leader of said coalition was Sunday Adelaja, who was a friend and accomplice of Ulf Ekman and Arthur Simonyan.
Вроде бы зима в Украине, зима в Киеве, а народ толпой ходит по Крещатику. Почему? Потому что народ пробудился, потому что революция происходит. Не просто оранжевая революция, но это революция также духовная, когда народ говорит, что уже все, не смираемся.
For the purpose of enrichment, ROK S.ZH first draws into their coalition rich people, successful businessmen, small business owners, and business organizations. Second, gets involved in great financial fraud, washes shadow finances, avoid paying taxes by converting their tax authority employees into the followers of their religious coalition. Third, in ROK S.ZH, especially developed is network marketing of the Swedish company Oriflame and American brand Mary Kay, which they use for pseudo-evangelism and attraction of small and large distributors of those companies. Fourth, ROK S.ZH concludes written financial agreements, according to which rich people, businessmen, and entrepreneurs are obliged to pay the coalition Word of Life large sums of money within one of few years. Spiritual secret of such financial agreement is that at the time of their execution, businessmen get bound by special bandit unclean spirits, Reba and Barabba, who rob them and keep them in slavery and dependency on the leaders of ROK S.ZH. Therefore, leaders of ROK S.ZH, ULEM-GURU ADAM-MAG, extort money from people who have no spiritual knowledge but conclude financially dangerous and life-threatening agreements. Attention! We'd like to warn all businessmen and people who signed such financial agreements. You are under the spell and influence of bandit unclean spirits Reba and Barabba, by means of which Arthur Simonyan collects tribute, commits spiritual robbery of all sects subordinated to him. Terminate those financial agreements and be free of slavery of the unclean spirits of Mammon. Attention! Incontestable proof of the fact that Arthur Simonyan openly and impudently calls for the insidious unclean spirits Reba and Barabba to commit financial robbery in order to rob, steal, and collect tribute will be presented in the 7th chapter where Arthur Simonyan performs his service at Andrei Kochkin in Riga on January 24, 2011.
Holy Pravarabada Gruslusi Lagaduslusi. Holy Parabada. Holy Parabarabada Gruslusi Ragaduslushaya. Holy Parabarabada Gruslushaya. Ori mante groslo sipi biti groslo sipi biti groslo sipi biti groslo sipi biti groslo shargdeslo sioshelgeslo sioshe. Ori mante grosa prabarabade groslo shargdeslo sioshelgeslo she. Ori patar groslo shargdeslo sioshelgeslo sioshe. Oh, rimante groslo shirgestasir. Oh, ramante groslo shirgestasir. Oh, rabaraba. Oh, rabaraba. Oh, rabaraba de groslo shirgestasir. Oh, ribacha yarabaga de goslo stick priberaba de goslo sierga de sashia. Oh, ramante groslo ship pribidigoslo siprabaraba de goslo shia. Oh, ramante grosla prabaraba de goslo shia. Oh, ribarabate grosla shigargasasya shaya. Oh, ramante grosla shaya ragadasla shigadete. Oh, rimante grosla Oh, ribarabate grosla shigadasla shaya. Oh, rimante grosla shaya. Oh, ramante grosla shaya. Oh, rabate grosla shaya.
In order to reach their mercenary goals, leaders of ROK S.ZH bribe powerful people and conclude contracts with them. For instance, Arthur Simonyan gave an expensive, purebred horse to the president of the TV channel Maxim Maximov as a gift in order to get Maxim Maximov's permission to speak on his channel more often.
Эту лошадь мне подарил мой друг. Эту лошадь мне подарил мой друг Артур Симонян. Артурджан, спасибо, дорогой случай. Смотри, как я красиво езжу на такой шикарной армянской лошади. Есфир зовут, однако. На такое чудовище, как я, здоровое и толстое, на такой маленькой хрупкой лошади.
Abgar Apinyan, the head of the Yerevan Union of Writers, being a member of the sect ROK S.ZH, awarded Arthur Simonyan with the Best Author of 2010 Year Award for his primitive, senseless, and meaningless brochures. Dear listeners, due to the fact that the information of the criminal, social, and financial activity of Arthur Simonyan and other leaders of ROK S.ZH Word of Life is voluminous, we will speak about it in details in our next chapters. Third, the religious social organization Word of Life is called coalition because it presents the integration and alliance of multiple large and small religious sects of other countries and cities of the world under the one leadership, Ulf Ekman, with whom all leaders of the sects forming this coalition concluded written agreements about their cooperation in order to reach the one goal for everyone. Dear listeners, the reason why the sect Word of Life is called a coalition We will explain in the next chapter.